Live. What up, y'all? Welcome to the
What's going
Chondro
on,
Bar
man?
Room. I know we a minute late, but what up, everybody? I'm sorry. I know y'all missed seeing Chuck. Chuck's not gonna be here tonight. Chuck's family was involved in a pretty rough car crash. So y'all send some prayers out to Chuck,
For
and
sure, y'all. Who
you
enough
know,
for Chuck?
hopefully, they'll be back to running around and being themselves for better or for
Well, yeah.
worse. But
But yeah,
yeah,
if you new, welcome to the hobby, man. And if you returning, uh, we love you more than you ever know.
it's a it's
Shout
weird
out
that
IGG.
the first person that responds is Chris, the same person who fell and damn near broke his ankle during the Conjo Barrow episode.
Oh, shout out to Chris too, man, our sponsor. We keep it
What
litty,
up,
man. On
Chris?
the perch side, you know,
On the
you
first
know,
side of the game.
we power, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We definitely powered by Chris, you know what I'm saying?
Ed Marlin, who made our logo, so shout out to Marlin Crazy Ass too.
Shout out to Marlon too, you know what I'm saying?
So we
Hey,
got
I'm finna start posting what's the name logo more. Chris got a raw ass logo when you look at it and you pay attention to it. The little
I know.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle theme. That's dope, bro. I'm gonna start posting them more.
Yeah, I got the sticker. I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna put it on the incubator once I get it finished.
Yeah, it's on
Um,
that, man.
yeah. He sent me two of them, so I appreciate them. But tonight we got a very special episode. Before we get into our
But y'all
guests,
know it's Tuesday. Tuesday, we back again.
I'm gonna let you get whatever you got to get off, Keno. I don't got nothing to say. I'm gonna let you do your promo tour in lieu of Chuck being here. So this is Keno's
Um,
promo tour.
Kino never did a promo tour. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that at all. Never did a promo tour. Um, I just let y'all know what's going on. This week, it was rough this week. That's all I'm gonna say. It was a rough week. Rough week with the babies for sure.
Hey man, it's
But
gonna be some rough weeks, bro.
yeah, the ups and downs of that. I'm built for that. We're ready for it though. But yeah, besides that, everybody doing good though in the collection. Everybody doing good. Got some things brewing. One of the Cyclops males, Mr. Snowfall, Whiteback, he was acting a fool. So we're gonna see
Yeah,
if he can act a fool donkey.
yeah, he was doing some things, some
Yeah.
greasy things.
If y'all was paying attention, he was sliding. You know what I'm saying?
In
What's
and out
going
that
on,
thing.
Salad? What's up, D? Tuck, everybody, Mikey Marsh,
What up, y'all?
Marlon C, y'all, the whole chat, Alan,
Yeah, we always see Alan. What's up, Killer
Killer
Trey,
Trey.
man? How you
What's up?
been, John Jones?
Phasman.
How that camera treating you, brother? And our
Bill, what's
brother
up,
Bill,
man?
man. Bill
Yeah,
back
you
in the
see Diehl up
building.
in here? 1776, what's going on?
1776. Hey man, I know
So everybody.
1776 got like three bumper stickers with AR-15s on the back of his vehicle.
Hey, and if he got a custom one, send me one. You know what I'm saying? A sticker that is. A sticker, a sticker.
All right. So let's just get into it. We're gonna bring in the legendary man himself, and we'll start from there.
What's up, y'all? Let's talk to Ken Deal.
Hey
Welcome
guys.
to the Chondro Bar Room, Mr. Ken Deal.
Well, thank
Welcome
you.
again. Thank you
Hey,
for blessing
Keno,
us with your
Travis.
presence. Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm sorry
Hopefully,
about earlier. I wanted to talk to you earlier, but I don't know what was going on. They was hating on me, that's all.
That's what he always says.
They was trying to
Well,
keep
we
me
go.
down. That's all.
We can save it for the show, but I first of all I want to show appreciation to Kid. He really helped me out with my first clutch. I remember when I talked to him the first time. He talked to me for like an hour. He didn't even know me, and I still appreciate that, Ken. It's
Yeah,
great to be in Texas, have good people like Ken around.
yeah, that's how it's supposed to be.
and when was that, Travis?
That was
Thinking about beer.
last year. That was in the spring of last year.
All right, all right.
Yeah, cause that clutch hatched in like May, and I remember I was talking to Mark Hager, and I was like, hey man, like I'm trying to link up with some more people in Texas because I didn't know anybody. The only person I really knew in Texas at that point in time was Marcus from Alamo City Arboreals, and you and Matt Morris were the first people he told me to talk to. So
Mm.
I still really appreciate that.
Well, good. Mark's a good guy.
Oh, Mark is a phenomenal guy. I'm surprised he talks to us. That's what he's such a nice person. I'm surprised he talks back to me. Well,
Yeah, I agree. We are some misfits sometimes.
misfits, misguided children.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that.
so we'll let you do your old intro, Ken. Um,
Yeah,
so we'll let you start from the beginning of how you started, and whatever you want to tell us. We'll patch up the rest with questions that we got lined up
yeah.
for you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, don't want to take up too much time, but as my mom
Hey,
said, as my
No,
mom
no, no.
said,
You got all the time that you
you got
need.
all the time, Ken.
well, I'm drinking coffee and I'm sitting in the warm room, I call it. I have a colubrid room, and then I have a python boid old world room, so it's pretty warm. But as my mom
Hmm.
said many years ago, she said, since you were about 5 years old, you just always look down and flip stuff up. So this has been a passion, herpiculture, reptiles, and all animals for that sake. Um, I pretty much grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I caught a lot of cow kings, and I'm a big fan of rosy boas. There's a bunch of rosies behind me. Um, and I volunteered at a live museum in Walnut Creek, California for about 4 years as a real young man. Um, and then I
No, how was
volunteered.
that like? You said a live museum. How was that like?
They had a small room of reptiles and native reptiles, and
Okay.
it was a really good keynote injection of captive care and education.
Yeah, you
And
got that early on.
I got that like when I was like 14 and 15, and I give my mom
Yeah.
credit. She drove me
Mm.
there once a week, but I focused on the reptiles and the snakes in particular. Uh, and that kind of groomed me for volunteering at the Houston Zoo. So I volunteered on feeding days, every feeding days for about 3 years on Wednesdays, and they actually offered me a job, but it was for $18,000 a year, and I couldn't do it. But that was a huge injection of
They wanted you
exposure.
full time for
They,
$18,000.
well, I volunteered for so long, I just kind of groomed myself. I mean, that's the way. So so I got a
They was like, we
biology.
gotta throw him something, man. We feeling bad.
Yeah,
This dude been coming here for free for so long.
Yeah, he show up every day.
it was a real nice. I got along with the guys. That was Hugh Quinn, Dave Blody, um, um, John. Oh gosh darn, Carl Peterson. Those are guys that were a number of years older than me, but well established. Paul Freed, they were keepers, and they let they gave me a lot of responsibility. I had a cobra get out once, and I found it. They had me sign a release form, and I said, "Now what's out?" And it was a cobra, and I found it later that
So,
day.
so the people that work there make the guy that doesn't work there sign a release form and
Yeah,
go find the cobra.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
crash dummy mission if I've ever heard one.
That was
That's a crash dummy mission.
Well, I stumbled upon it, actually. I stumbled upon it. I saw it by the side of my eye. It went into a box.
You said
And
you stumbled upon a cobra. Oh man.
and they didn't believe me. And I started getting buckets and hooks. And they said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yeah." And it was in the box. But
Mm.
then I worked as a flight attendant, which was, I got a biology degree from Stephen F. Austin in East Texas. and
Oh, nice.
couldn't get a job. I got my biology degree and my teaching certificate, and couldn't get a job. And then after 3 years, met my first wife on the plane, um, and then I worked as an aquatic toxicologist for about I don't know, maybe 8 years, and
So
and
during that time, you did a lot of pH measuring.
well, we tested fish and shrimp with
Okay.
chemicals that were released into waterways in the ocean, and they had to pass survival, reproduction,
Mm,
fecundity, and growth. And
right.
it was a very strict protocol from EPA, and I
Yeah, I cannot deal with some along those lines right
do you? What do you
now.
do?
uh,
In what way?
in short, I'm responsible for basically releasing the water to the city, but it has to be at a proper within the proper pH range, and the turbidity is what we count it in, and it has to be in certain parameters, and yeah,
Oh, well,
all that sound familiar.
well, it sounds very much so, because after that, I worked for the San Antonio Water System, and I worked in the Resource Protection and Compliance Department, primarily selling tertiary treated wastewater for irrigation. And at the very end of 25 years, I'm retired now. It's been 2 years. I'm enjoying my animals more than I ever have, and I've always had animals, but right now I'm on my pinnacle of species and hatchlings and enjoyment. I have the time finally, and you guys will one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully, but you can drink out of the water bowls now. I mean, it's pretty fun right now. I'm enjoying them.
I guess
Um,
Keno fell out.
yeah, looks like he phased out.
He'll be back.
All
But
right.
yeah, so so give us more about, I'll start off. So when you first got into the hobby, what did the green tree python, community look like in Texas, but also the larger US? And when you go into how you first started acquiring chondros, and who you were doing this with, the people that you were in contact with.
Well, I've been involved in breeding snakes for about 35 years, and so I've always had a collection. And in 1998, I I traded a bunch of gray banded king snakes with Bob Clark, and I got a pair of wild caught. It was a female Aru and a really high blue sarong
Okay.
male, and that was in 1998. And I actually had them. I'll just go through the story of that because it's kind of interesting. I had them in a communal cage close to the window in central Texas. And I remember in December, I had a friend come over and he goes, "Their tails are wrapped." And I said, "What? They're wrapped?" And I
I don't know
said,
what the hell just happened, y'all.
and I got real excited about the tails being wrapped because I knew what that meant. Well, I had a litter, and it was the toughest feeding litter I've ever had. They turned into a lime green wash with the sarong and the Aru with with white specks randomly throughout their bodies. And I sold a number of them and such. But that was the time when MV Forum was probably one of the best mechanisms for communication. Greg Maxwell,
Yes.
which you
Shout
had
out to the
a
MVF forum.
yeah. I mean, he was on your show, which is great. I loved hearing him. Um, I remember I was raising gray bands, and I said, "Hey, well, this litter and that was in 2000. My first litter was in 2000, and I said I'll pinky pump them. And I remember he said, Ken, they can't tolerate pinky pumping like Alternas, and he was right.
They can't.
They can't. It's
They
just
cannot.
too much for them.
Yeah.
And another interesting story. I broke that pair up, and then I put them together the next year or after that, and I came in, and blood was everywhere, and that male who had scars on him, which I always thought were bird scars coming down on it. It was a really nice blue a sarong with bright yellow belly, and he killed a larger female Arua, and she was dead.
Damn.
And he just lacerated her like a tiger. And so when people say, hey, the la la la, well, this was my definitive experience of, yeah, the male will kill the female. Now whether it was maybe
That's the first time I've heard of that.
I've
You
only
always
heard
hear
of
about the
females killing males.
You
Right.
always hear about the vice
Right.
versa, but man,
Right. So it can happen vice versa. Haven't had anything of that magnitude ever. I mean, but it was I speculated it was a territorial thing maybe, and she couldn't get away. But she was so much bigger than him. But
did you put the female into the male's cage or the male in the female's cage?
I put the female into the male's cage. So maybe that was a trigger too. I did notice, you always put the male into the female's cage.
Yeah.
But I think I switched it in 2001 or 2. But and then he strangled her too. So it really was a strange observation.
He's one of them necrophiliacs.
Yeah.
He like it dead.
He wanted to go on the raw way, man.
But during that time, Travis, and Keno, it really was Greg Schroeder and Andrew Amon came in a little late. There's people like Hillary Webb that was involved. She was working at VPI with Dave and Tracy Barker in Bernie, Texas. And
Barker's okay.
And
Bernie's not far.
No, it's not. It wasn't far at all. But Hillary Webb, who doesn't keep animals anymore, and Byron Barnes. Does that ring a bell?
No,
not to me. All the other names do though.
Yeah,
I was around in those. I was around in the MVF days.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was like about 2006 is when I started. Like when I first started like getting in heavy on the MVF, and I was always a lurker. I probably made like 2 posts, but I read and saw a lot of stuff going on. There was a lot of shady stuff going on with some big names back then that I won't mention, but it was like long year-old threads, and it was like if you go back deep enough, you can find a lot of stuff on there. And people were getting checked on there. It wasn't
you can
like
see
it wasn't all free willy and you could just do things. You was getting the belt on there.
There was a different level of, if you go and look at the MVF, there was a different level of dissent than you see on Facebook.
And decorum, and you had to have some type of
standing.
It wasn't like if you was a newbie, you got shamed anything, but like you couldn't post like the random stuff that you see on Facebook.
I think early on I came in with a little more of a know-it-all than what I should have, and then I humbled myself real quick. There was a lot of personalities in there, and I learned that green tree pythons were a different bird. I mean,
there was some rock stars in there for sure.
Yeah,
It was. Yeah. They had the rock star personalities.
Yes, a lot of different personalities, and a lot of probably more than now, a lot of variability of knowledge, and
That's true.
so you really tried to mimic. Greg Maxwell still was the big dog. He still was repeatedly breeding chondros more regularly than just about anybody else. Tim Termezzi didn't involve him much. You know, he had that lemon tree line, and that's really during that time.
Rico too. Rico was breeding
Of
a
course,
lot.
yes.
He was
I
breeding
forgot
heavy.
Rico Walder and Signal
Yeah.
Herpiculture in Tennessee. I bought animals from him. I don't know. I should have had a second job. Rico, I probably bought more animals from, and I'll never forget one. I had a snake I bought from Rico, and I nicknamed it Banana Girl because it was almost solid. And literally, it was 3 feet, and it was solid yellow. And he said, Ken, that was the last individual out of that litter. And I remember him saying, I'm going to let you pick my holdbacks next time. And Banana Girl was real special.
Do you remember what parent Banana Girl was from?
No.
Okay,
You
I
know,
know it's way back. Okay.
I think it was almost like a sarong with maybe a biac type. I have some discs from pictures and lineage from way in the back, and that should be one I kept, but I don't have that available. You know, but
I know it's offhand. That was probably like what 2008 or something.
I think so. I mean,
But around now.
Do you remember Banana Girl? Does that ring a bell?
I'm gonna go do some digging. It
Right.
do sound familiar, but I don't remember the exact parent because Rico did so many damn parents, man. And I never really got to personally meet Rico, but I was like, every time that dude Dark Pass put up them YouTube videos and had them drums with the I instantly go to Rico's page and I was just always there. It was like after reading the first Greg Maxwell book, I was always on Rico's page because he had the different localities and the different designers, blood, and
right.
You know,
and his website was so user friendly.
Yeah, you could just click it and read.
Right.
And
you could check all the pedigrees out. And
yeah, that's where I fell in love with the Cyclops at. I was going through and I saw 05125, I think his name. I was like, damn, I like these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Cyclops.
But he always, what I like about him too is a lot of his stock, he went and picked it out. And you got pictures with him you can't see it now because his website all defunct, but you had pictures with him at the farm picking out babies, looking at babies, and that had to be a thrill.
And he was such a friendly, helpful individual.
That's what I hear.
It wasn't only customer service after the sale. It was before, helpful. You know, he used to work at a zoo too, and then did the Signal Mountain herpiculture business, and he was missed, no doubt.
Yeah.
So I got another early question. Back in those times when you were first acquiring animals, were you primarily picking up animals from shows, or did you personally know breeders? How was that working with breeders at that point in time? Like, were you guys meeting at shows or over the phone or in the MVF? And how were people notified back in those days of new clutches before the internet, before it really took off?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I was around before MV Forum. When I got my first clutch in 2000, I traded with other individuals, and I always I always kind of tell people, I say, once you get one clutch, you're going to hold back your holdbacks, trade for to outbreed from others, straight trade, and then maybe sell one or two, and then your collection after 4 or 5 years really kind of takes off. So once I started having babies,
That makes a lot of sense, Ken.
it was it, I was off and running, so that was good. Um, but what was your second question? Oh,
So how was networking and meeting with other breeders? Like,
Hmm.
how did you guys go about doing that? And like how, like, what did the mix of animals look like back in those days that people were acquiring? Was it mostly localities? Was it a lot of designers? Like, what did that era really look like when you first came in?
And also, you got a lot of animals that got the PNG in there. So to follow up on that, can you explain if you saw them what the real PNG animals look like?
well, a Bushmaster at that time, Indonesia bred chondros weren't really available. So you were getting adults and subadults from the wild,
Yeah,
and therefore you really didn't have a big choice uh, of what you got. And when you say PNG, Papua New Guinea, that
hmm,
that's kind of like a general term. Um,
true.
and
Yeah,
you kind of just took it for what it was. It's like getting imported animals now in, and they really can't tell you, where they came from, because they probably came from different groups that brought them in for money,
Yeah,
and that information was lost. But
try
again,
to sell them a higher.
but Kino, as you can tell an Arua from a Biak,
Hmm.
a sarong from a
Yeah,
classic Cyclops, um, and so you actually, there was probably some real mutts out there that uh, uh, that keeping line bred locality specific animals. It's
yeah.
it's really cool to see those people doing that more now with a
No, I know
highly.
that wasn't possible, but I know like the PNG animals. What I'm starting to realize is like, especially being able to see them, uh, and I love how like a lot of the older generation, they do like the little lineage charts with the different pictures. And the lineage, the PNG animals, I see them in the pictures. They look bigger and they seem to have a lot more yellow.
I really can't generalize. PNG was half of the
Well, the
island.
animals labeled as PNG. That's what I mean.
I think that bluish male I had with a bright yellow belly was pretty classic PNG from
Okay.
an importer. But I still do that. I mean, I still
Yeah,
ooh,
do
yeah,
these
yeah,
yeah,
do
that's
these
what we miss seeing.
and and
yeah.
and I strive to put those together, because I have a lot of pedigrees, but they're line pedigrees with an ID. And so what I've been um, always trying to do, even with other species,
Hmm.
I'll try and put the phenotype and go as far back as I can, and and sometimes if you look at some of old troopers or or some of the old timers, they just say unknown,
Yep.
unknown, unknown,
Yeah.
and
They'll say
and
wild caught female, wild caught male.
yeah,
Yep.
wild caught. And so
Or blue male, or something
right
like that. Yeah,
now they're selling Bushmaster babies that are more locality specific.
that's
Yeah.
true.
And so that's a an improvement in the hobby from chondros.
Yeah, you gotta
Hey,
watch out who you buy from, though. That's all.
Hey,
But some
Mr.
people
Matt.
slap a label on that, you know.
Hey,
Always.
Yeah, you know.
You,
But
hey,
like Travis
kid.
was saying, then not to get that lost, but how did y'all? How was the networking? Like when you was getting
okay.
captive animals, or when you was getting your wild caught animals, how was that working
Well,
Hold on.
for
Before you
you?
answer, I want you to answer, but I gotta let you know somebody's gonna come in, um, because I told you somebody
Oh
was gonna
snap, we got a
crash the
surprise
party.
guest.
Somebody
Oh
wanted to
snap.
crash the party. A Texas man wanted to crash the party.
Oh Patrick
hey,
What's
King.
I
Come
don't.
on.
But go ahead, kid.
No, that's how's it going, Pat?
it's going badass.
Yeah.
I want you to finish what you were saying here, and then I have a little story about you to share really quick.
Come
I
on,
just
man.
wanted to jump in.
Is it
Oh,
me again,
okay.
y'all?
Hopefully, it's a good one. Um,
It is.
well, Keno, did you go to the arboreal symposiums in St. Louis?
No, I did not.
Okay,
St. Louis hella
I
dangerous.
wasn't around there.
that was
No, that's not where I didn't go. I wasn't deep as in the green trees as I was now. I was still
okay.
in my youth keeping days then.
Well, that was a great networking situation. I mean, I think I
Yeah.
even have a picture somewhere. Um,
I
of
missed those symposiums and those green tree what was it, the chondro
Chondro fests and stuff like that.
yeah, those things that y'all used to have, man, and it was organized by all those people having so many green trees on the tables. I missed that.
Well, that was a
I was
great.
kind of sad.
That was the pinnacle of my green tree years, where we drove, a full day with Andrew Amen and others, and stayed in a hotel with Tina Hannibal. I remember she went to one of those, and we had it was great networking. But I do remember once I sat down at a table and they go, "Oh, Ken Diehl, you're the guy with Banana Girl," and so
You started to be known for
yeah,
her.
you're known for that one animal, so that
Yeah.
that was cool. But it
Tina
really,
was awesome chick. Tina was a cool chick. I got to meet her when she came over, and we did dinner with Sony and a
Is
couple
Pat
other
on? Why I
people.
can't see Pat?
I
yeah,
can see Pat.
she was a
I can
very
I can see both
knowledgeable
of y'all, but
person,
not Pat.
Yeah, she was.
and
I don't know what's going on with you.
I'm
she
gonna leave
broke
out and come
hearts
back
all
in.
over the United
All right.
States. That's what I'll tell
That's funny.
you.
She's definitely a good-looking girl.
But I'm not half as social as I was 15 years ago. I mean, I've diversified a lot of species now, and but those were. I mean, you lived and breathed green tree pythons. It was fun.
So those were your dog days. So like I
Yeah.
feel like back in those days you enjoyed it a lot. And it was probably a bigger sense of community for you at that point in time, mostly because of your involvement.
I yes, you're correct, Travis. Yeah.
So I got another question. And it's about the progression of the community from that point in time. Um, how quickly did you see things change from when you first came in to how it is now? As far as how people communicate with each other and things like that, because we've gone from people using pictures and sending things in the mail, and we've seen collections change a lot too. So that was one of my questions.
I wish I could talk with some degree of specificity on that. I really can't. Um, I think technology allowed more exposure of what you're currently doing. Um, Again, I want to say Rico Walder. When Rico Walder sold something, he had a packet, a guide, a pictorial pedigree,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
a. I I don't think anyone does that anymore.
At
No.
least not like the Signal Herb website. The Signal Herb website was a one of one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But communication, I think, expanded to other forum venues. But I stuck with MV primarily. I was an MV guy, and that's when you announced what's going on, and there was a lot of internal communication. Especially when you had a clutch or you had copulation, you would already line out trades and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, we got Pat in here, so I'm gonna let Pat ask his question.
Sure. I actually, sorry, I'm sitting here feeding new babies right now. Um, oh, that is one of the, okay. I actually wanted to share a story, and I have a question. So the Kino had just said something about lineage, and we're talking about history and whatnot. Um, the first time that I ever saw a chondro pedigree, like a legit chondro pedigree with pictures and the parents and grandparents, was at a reptile show in San Antonio in 2006, and it was Ken and Sony's table, and they had this big ass poster board behind the table with this fucking full huge pedigree back there, and I'd never seen anything like that. And I was like, man, these fucking guys are serious about this shit. They got the fucking grandparents pictures on here and all this shit. And then I look down at the table, and they've got little I won't call them neonates because they were really big, well started baby chondros, but deli cups with all these yellow babies, and they were all $650 and $700. And I was like, these dudes are fucking tripping. Who is going to pay $650, $700 for a fucking green tree python?
I was thinking the same thing when I was looking at it. Yeah. And then I started seeing 1,400. I was like, what?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
time I
$1,400 for
seen
a snake?
designer prices, I was confused. I was just like, this can't be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, dude. But,
These pictorial pedigrees, I think, have made more marketing sales than anything.
yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like some of the labels I have on some of my snakes. I need to turn the camera around, but I try and put a lot of information down as much as possible, because the older I get, the more forgetful I get.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that was a funny story, and I came to really love that. I used to be, I've always been into the lineage since I started getting into this, but I used to be really excited about picture pedigrees because it was just so cool to visualize. I used to even make them like I would make them for pairings that I had planned out just so I could look at the pictures of the adults side by side and whatnot. And that was just really awesome to me. I probably should get back to doing that shit just for fun, but
We'd all appreciate it. Especially
I did a lot of that stuff at work. I mean, I'd be at the computer and I'd say, okay, I worked 26 years at SAWS. And so if I had time, I mean, that's where my mind was at. Was that, well, chondros. I would just work the pedigrees out as best I can and then JPEG it, and it's done,
So that's why my SAWS bill is so high right now.
Yeah.
Ken Diehl was using the office equipment.
That's funny, man. I'm the same way. I do my stuff at work too.
Yeah.
So the question I had is, you were talking about that Sorong Aru clutch being your first one back in '98, 98 when you got the pair. That's actually '98 is when I got my first pair of chondros as well, a pair of Aru, wild-caught Aru. But my question is, I seem to remember there being a clutch from Boko and a Sorong Aru female. Was that from one of your females that was a holdback from the first clutch?
I think you're talking about a high yellow Boko kind of a.
Yeah.
It's probably. I printed out some of this stuff. Probably
Came prepared.
this one right here. It, it, it,
Yeah.
that came from Eric Cook, and
Okay.
I saw him last weekend, and he that animal has got it's got Maruki outcross, pepper, kunta from sunbake serpents, and it's actually has some albino genes in it. Had 12.5%.
12, I was about to ask 12.5. Yeah, it sounds like it.
And I don't know what that means. Probably not much, of course. But that's why I'm excited about this clutch that Sodi and I split, because that's the grandfather of the clutch that I have now, or half the clutch, and I'm pretty excited. I mean, it's actually kind of injected a bunch of chondro pheromones into me. The babies, and maybe, you know, I can show you all them. I'll turn the camera around. I don't have the production, Pat, like you have done and proven over and over. I'm sitting in this room and I'm looking at all these heads.
Oh no, we don't care. We don't care about none of that, Bill. You can show us whatever you want. I mean, Ken,
Whatever
you
you
can show us
want to
whatever
do.
you want. Pull it out.
I just have so many. I mean, my emeralds are above my, and I got a pregnant Dominican red mountain boa, and you know. But
me too.
I wish I had a dedicated green tree python room like I did. And I think that's a key, because thermocycling and control of the environment, I haven't focused on that, because I've got, you know, Kenyan sand boas and Indian sand boas behind me, and I'm enjoying the diversification of other species. So we'll see how it all goes.
I'm going to throw in one last thing, and I got to get serious about feeding these babies so I can get to bed. And you already brought it up. I was just going to say that I think it's really badass that Sony just hatched out that clutch in that joint pairing with you guys. I'm really excited to see Sony breeding chondros again. And go ahead.
He's really improved himself. He got married last weekend.
Yeah, man.
He's cleaned himself up, and I think you can understand.
Nice.
And,
absolutely.
And I'm proud of him. And
me too.
And I deliberately gave him that big biac, and I gave him some corn snakes and said, hey, you know, your passion's still there. And let's get real. He bred that pair, and I didn't. I mean, I had that big biac female, and she was in that cage for what, 3-4 years? And
so that was your female?
Yeah, it was a big biac female, and
she's beautiful too.
And he did it.
Nice.
And he had it 100% hatch. So I just said,
that's amazing.
Wow.
I said, good job, man. Good job.
So the first time that I had a chondro clutch, I got an incubator from Sony, because he was kind of backing out of some of that stuff around that time. This is late 2009 or early 2010. And he gave me his cooler incubator, and I gave him a baby out of the clutch for letting me use that incubator. And I still have that igloo cooler, and I have hatched, I don't know how many chondros in it. I just, right now it's my incubator number 2. So that's where the chondros are moving to for the last 10, 12, 14 days, whatever, of incubation. So I'm still right now still hatching chondros out of that cooler that Sony gave me 13 years ago.
Well, that was his worst time in his life. That's when his addiction was real strong. And I'm glad he gave away some of that stuff. But he's been clean for like 7 years now.
Yeah.
And good for him.
Good for
Sony,
for him.
And I knew that Sony had because I was doing the same stuff back then, and we shared some of those struggles, and so we talked about that. We didn't get into too much trouble together, but maybe a little bit. And but I also bought a lot of cages and stuff from him. So I still have a whole wall of Sharkhorn PVC cages and Pro Products heat panels that I bought from Sony as well. And those things are those cages and panels are like 20 something years old and still work perfectly like they always have. So I'm glad to have that stuff, and he still has some of his original stuff too. So it's just really awesome to see him doing as good as he is and hashing out chondros again. It's fucking great.
Yes,
We
sir.
might have to reach out to
Yes,
Sony.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to reach out.
That's great.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm going to get to feeding these babies. Thanks for letting me jump in, guys. It's good to see you, Ken. I hope to see you in person soon, man.
Yes, sir.
Anytime, Pat. You know you got to stand the
Pat,
invite here.
anytime, man. Thanks for hopping
Yeah,
on, brother.
yeah.
I appreciate you.
All right.
OG.
Good night,
Thanks,
guys.
Pat.
Good night.
All right, Keno, you get to some questions too, man.
Yeah, man. So
Take the scarf off and get dirty.
nah, man, I like my scarf because my scarf can keep me warm. I wear my own scarf.
Come
So
on now.
since you talked about the pairing with Sony, can we get a little deeper more into that pairing?
Yeah. Let's see. I don't think I printed out the last one that
Because that was like one of my first questions I had to ask you, so that'd be a good segue right into it.
I didn't print out, in all honesty, there's one more page that I wanted to.
Well, I got the lineage. I got the lineage on the parent, but I guess can you just expound on it for me? Because what it was, your female was an
want to see it.
OCBI.
Show it. Let me see it.
What?
I want to see the picture.
This is the.
Oh, you got the lineage. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is the grandfather right here, and actually, the sire of our clutch looks just like this, and the babies do not look like BX. They and I'll show them to you here.
So your female was she was an OCBI though, right? She wasn't a pure BI.
Yeah, she was a pure BX from Bushmaster. I got from John Crickner, and I saw him not too long ago. And
I thought it was OC. Okay.
And actually, it's not a real good-looking BX. I mean, it's got a yellow mask, but it didn't model out much at all. And actually, the pheromonal change of that female, she's almost black now. And which I don't know what that means. I mean, after they lay, but what I like about this is this Sire Maruki outcross from Trooper Walsh, and I used to have a whole bunch of Kunta and OS high yellows, and some of those OS high yellows, which I believe Kunta from Sunbaked Herps were originally from. Man, that yellow was just spectacular. Just super.
The high yellows high yellows were the first ones that got me in.
Me too.
Okay, all right. So you're on the same page.
And so I was telling Sony, now as these 12 babies mature, I hope they go scale by scale, because my experience is if they go a light wash, they're going to go green. But if you get scale by scale, it could be a tri or a 4-colored snake. That's pretty optimistic, but we'll see.
And so tell us more about the Hillary Webb tricolors.
I wish I had a mail from Hillary Webb, and I think it had some Trooper Walsh in it, but it was another very potent blue, bright forest green, and high yellowed animal. You know, sometimes these shades of yellow aren't as defined, I guess, or contrasting. But Hillary Webb had a pretty nice collection at one time. She had a lot of really nice animals. Byron Barnes used to have a lineage. Hopefully I answered that question, Kino, to some level.
You did a little bit. Because
Yeah,
I know Hillary Webb. That's another name that I see a lot in lineages.
yeah.
And a breeder that I bought from, her name will pop up in his lineages a few times.
I see him every once in a while. Have you ever heard of the Houston Zoo line? Does that
Yeah,
ring a bell?
I've heard of it.
I
Yeah,
probably have, yeah.
I was on this big rush to get into those more than not, and to the
So
point where,
what was coming out of the Houston Zoo?
all right, well, there was a guy that had pure Houston Zoo stock, and I volunteered at the zoo there, and all I could tell, it looked like it was a Biak and a Sarong. That's the best I could do.
Okay.
But what was coming out of that line was super high yellows, but with a blue influence. And
Hmm.
Byron Barnes had this female that was like this big, that had, it was, and I still think I have a picture of it in the files. It was one of the most spectacular blue yellow animals I've ever seen. And so I got into them. I was buying from Craig Hodgkins, I believe his name was. I was trading babies to get his lineage and buying them. And I had a snake called Olive that was pure Houston Zoo that John Holland. Does that ring a bell,
I
John
remember
Holland?
John Holland. Yes, I remember that name. Yes.
He was the owner of Mr.
Very
Blue.
clear. Yeah.
And I met him at one of those Chondro Fests in St. Louis, and he goes, Ken, that Houston Zoo line is great. Can you lend me that female and I'll breed it to Mr. Blue? And I went, yeah, well, that's a no-brainer. What's your address? But it didn't work out. It didn't work out.
Okay.
It didn't work
What
out.
happened? It just never took. They weren't compatible.
I think that was the case. She passed away in his care. I remember.
Okay.
And that was disappointing. But
Of course. How old was she when you sent her off?
oh, she was in her prime. She was like 6 years old, man. Big meat.
Man.
And
You had never bred her?
no, I've never bred her, and I had her brother.
No.
Her brother was a super nice high yellow.
Damn.
And so I was just going, that's really cool, But
that's a dagger to the heart. I know that hurt, man.
yeah.
I got a breeding question for you. As far as
Damn.
your early days of breeding went, what were your goals when you were breeding? As far as phenotypes, creating a line, or did you want to create bigger animals? And what was your fertility rates, and were you having fertility issues and things like that?
I like Kino. I think the high yellows caught my eyes. The blue lines weren't in there. The calicos were just coming into fruition, and they were kind of like out of my reach. The calicos, and the blue lines were kind of out of my reach. I felt there was big breeders that had seemed like you just needed to have $1 million to make $1 million in contracts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just said, high yellows, Houston Zoo, they're close. I know the people go with it. But, Travis, I didn't have any real goals. And I would almost say they're kind of the same. I like mutts. I like contrast. I like, but I'm real happy to see locality specific animals going in that direction. Has anyone, on that note, I'm rambling. I drank a bunch of coffee. You talk about Cyclops, Kino.
Okay.
I heard at one time that Mr. Blue was from not. I thought it was an Arua with Blue, but I heard it was from Cyclops. Has anyone with all your discussions uh, gave further information on Mr. Blue?
I've never heard of Mr. Blue being a Cyclops.
I did long time ago, and I heard it from, I
But you,
remember, someone with some reliability. It was like, yeah,
mm,
we think it's from Cyclops.
damn. Now I'm gonna have to start doing some digging because the thing is another thing, and that's probably like a failure on my part. When you hear these names, it's like they so majestic. And you see the pictures and stuff. You never think to ask, well, what was that?
Yeah,
Because they hold such a high prestige and they so well known.
yeah.
And that's probably some I probably need to start asking. But then again, um, you got to talk to the right people for that because again, back then it was so hard for y'all to, yeah, you know what a Aru was, you knew what a Biak was, but I knew it was hard for y'all to trust people, just like it is now for us, Ken. I've seen people buy something from this, and it was labeled as this, and then they switch it up as that. But that would really intrigue me for Mister Blue to be a Cyclops, for him to be an all blue Cyclops, because then hasn't been not many blue Cyclops in captivity that has passed those blue traits on. But if
But
that would be the case with him, his name is very prominent.
yeah, let's see. I think I've got a picture of Mr. Blue. But
Man,
guys,
he got a picture of everybody. Come on, Cam, pull it up. He got a picture of
He,
everybody.
pro-
well,
he
well,
probably got the
see,
leaked photos of Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky over there. He got photos of everything.
see, Andrew Amen, which was another good friend of mine. I don't even.
Yeah, rest in peace, Andrew Amos.
BJ Arboreals was later on in the Chondro
Yeah,
bit. And I remember
BJA, yes, he was.
going to his house, and Andrew Kelly was a real big breeder too. But the only picture of Mr. Blue I have is right here, this little teeny picture right here of Mr. Blue. And it is a blue animal, but between me and you, if you said, well, what new blue blood do you want to get? I couldn't even tell you. I don't keep up with the genetics. So when
Okay.
Travis asked me, what is your goal? These babies will re-stimulate me. And I had that confetti individual. Does that ring a bell? That confetti individual I
Oh, for
had?
sure. Oh, for sure
Uh,
it does.
now he had that, and you guys hopefully can give me some insight. His head puffed up, his eyes sunk in, and I read that it could have been a clogged eye duct, and he was dead three days later. It was a female, and that snake, and I'm looking at its sibling right here, which is green. Yeah,
Damn.
but
That's how you drop the news on those damn kids.
well, that's when the wind was taken out of me, and so many,
Oh fuck.
and there were other things, but I lost some animals, and I said,
Hey, you gotta give me a minute, kid, because that was depressing. Because I was
it,
about to ask you, can we see confetti tonight?
yeah, confetti.
Nah, real
Con,
talk, man.
con,
Oh,
confetti was one of those things where you looked at the pedigree and you say, oh, they're going to be green, and then a brown black with tiger stripes
I,
neonate comes out,
I
which it
got
was.
confetti's. I got a lineage right here.
Oh,
Damn.
yeah. That and I'm looking at it. That was a. You know what? Here we go. Here's the connection. You know what male that was? That was the grandfather of the clutch I have now. That was this. So
That was the one
maybe,
from Matt Morris, right?
yeah. Well, that was the dame was a Womena Maruki. The
Okay.
sire of Confetti was this individual with pretty much a green snake. So maybe
Yeah, that's the PNG, the mock, yeah, the Maruki Alco's
the
pepper,
Maruki, the peppers thing. Yeah,
12%
yeah,
Habano, yeah.
yeah.
Damn.
So maybe there is
Wow.
something with this albino percentage. I don't know.
Okay.
I think Marukis have a propensity for that because like my Maruki, when I look at it from the side, it just has weird speckling on it, and
Mm.
it's not like a clear green. Like it's green and it's speckled with yellow, but it's not like a Biak.
I
Mm.
totally agree. I've always thought the Maruki was a really good outcross to get some spectacular animals. Now, you say, well, give me examples. Well, I guess the only example would be, um, uh, you
The
know,
pepper, the pepper.
yeah, the
Yeah.
pepper lineage and stuff like that. But
No, but I've heard that though.
Well, we got
I've
some.
heard
Me and
people.
Kino
I've
both.
heard people.
you both
Oh
have
yeah, for
Marukis?
sure.
You both have Marukis?
We've got
So we
Biak
got some.
Maruki outcrosses.
Yeah.
How do they look?
So they're
Lovely.
brothers, and they look raw. I mean, when I say raw, they beautiful. They completely different though. It's like if you saw them, you probably wouldn't think they was from the same clutch. What
Wow.
makes it so raw? Because all of them, the whole clutch was like a dark chocolate, maroon. It was like they were all velvet, and
Well,
mine was completely patternless, and Travis had some striping going on. Both of them though, what they do show is peppering. It's like Biak Maroke outcross. So what that tells me is it had to be a male
Those
red
melanistic.
dominant Biak that
And
bred to a yellow, the bred to the female Maroke.
that male definitely had to be melanistic in some way because he
It
passed
had
that
to.
on.
Now
He
we
passed
don't
that
know
on.
this because it came from the farm, but the source we got him from is a true irreliable guy, Ryan
And
Burns.
GSJ has one. So GSJ.
Yeah,
So there's two in Texas.
yeah, it's two in Texas actually. GSJ got a sister. He got a
oh,
female.
really?
Yeah, he got a female.
Yeah,
We were talking about him this weekend because he was telling me how big she was, and I was just like, man, my male was big as hell.
mine is
uh,
right here. He eats anything all the time, and
Can you flash
I'll
to
send
him?
you a huh.
Can you flash to him, Kino?
I'll see if you know what I'll see if I can get him out.
and
Oh, well,
Glitch is
don't hurt.
like, no, you better not take him out.
Yeah, don't
I
hurt
was
yourself.
he's an ass at night though, so you got like during the day glitch is cool, but what he shows is he was a red baby that was completely patternless, but what he shows is he shows the white scales down the dorsal. It's not like a complete stripe, but they're only on his dorsal. But he shows the yellowing on the sides that you was talking about.
Let me
Yeah, mine
That
see.
has
comes from that
flowers on the
Maroke
dorsal.
outcross. And he
Yes,
has but on his laterals he has black.
Uh, a pure Maruki with white
Nah, this
specks.
is not a pure Maroke. He's an outcross.
These
This is
are
a Maroke
outcrosses.
Bia. Yeah.
See
he
here.
covered your head.
I thought you were gonna see that.
Wow. Good job.
So this is how he looks. So I got him as a baby and I raised him up. And honestly, I always wanted a red Neo male that showed yellow.
So where
And
does
he's
the
got a
black come from? Tell me where black comes from. You've
in
got
this
Comes from
parent,
that
I think the black comes from the Biot.
the Biak,
For
the
sure. I
melanistic
think
Biak.
I think the white is coming from the Maroke, and I think the black in this is definitely coming from the Biak. I'm assuming that's the father. We don't know that.
but aren't BX? I mean, I know like the one that the female that Sony has right now is darkened up, but that's a pheromonal change after dropping. I mean, BX. I mean, and educate me. Do you see BX with black infusion?
Yes.
I'll see a lot of Biaks that are very dark. It's some Biaks that are like a pale blue and darker. It's some weird looking Biaks out there. Just odd.
And I think they got to do with and that's something that we'll never know. But we do know there's more than one island that represent Biaks. Then you
Yeah,
got the
yeah,
Numform,
yeah,
Podido,
yeah.
and all these islands. But what I've seen is, man, I remember during the pandemic, maybe right before the pandemic, Patrick was going on a Biak buying spree, and he had bought like some like 75 red Biaks. And what I noticed was they was all red Neos, and you could tell because they got the pattern still showing. And he was getting a lot of ones that was black. He was calling them dirty. I got this dirty Biak in. Look how
Pat chimed
dirty this
in.
thing is. Mm-mm. Okay. All right.
I can't read that.
So it
So
says,
he
I
said
think the black
he's
also comes from hybridization. We see the black show up in outcrosses where neither parents have black. So maybe, I mean, Pat is the
okay.
Biak guy.
But Patrick got a lot of Biaks that got black on them.
Well, and when we talk about historical stuff, what I've learned, one of the things I've learned in the last 15 years that's increased significantly is every time somebody long time ago would say, I'm going to breed a Biak to an Arua, I would say, you're going to get a green snake. And
Yeah.
that's not the case. The Biak
Well,
outcrosses seem to be real hardy and throw a
yeah.
certain set of genes in there that really produce some great animals. What do you think?
What I've seen in the what I know traditionally from a lot of the OGs again, what they wanted to do with the Biakaroos is get to the F2s. It was some about unlocking the F2. The ones you using the ones that you produce from the first parents, using those and I guess breeding them to each other or breeding those somehow about that. But it was getting to those F2 or Rubiacs, especially the red ones. They were saying how they were seeing more yellow, but that's what they were breeding for back then.
Right, right. Well, maybe because, which doesn't seem to be the case with Kophias, the Biak Island high yellow genetic makeup is a really good phenotype to cross with, because I just see gorgeous of Biaks,
Oh, what happened?
gorgeous. So I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've been told that too. They've said BX are definitely good because their eggs are hardier.
I don't know what
Um,
happened.
I don't know why it blacked them off either. I saw that too.
Let me bring him back in.
Okay,
Yeah, what happened, Ken?
I
I
don't
saw
know.
that too. It blacked them out. He was just sitting there. I think it's been doing that to me though, Trav. I think it's some maybe it was StreamYard tonight because I've been sitting here and my Wi-Fi bars all in and it's just been kicking me out. So I don't know. Maybe StreamYard acting the fool tonight
Yeah, maybe
or
maybe
YouTube,
it's
one of
StreamYard.
them.
It could be one or the other. But yeah.
But the Biox, they I remember back then they were breeding they were outcrossing the Kofi owls too because they were doing pure Kofi owls and they were saying how their feeding response was bad. Speaking of, I was before we got on, I was just looking at Chuck Vogel and I saw him. He was establishing little pure Kofi owls, but they was injecting the Biox blood uh, to get their hardiness, to get the feeding response to in the Kofi owls. And then I guess as an offshoot of that, you start getting the high yellow Kofi acts is what they call them.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I've always believed Biaks are one of the hardiest green trees out there, and I know they say they're mean. Well, they are kind of mean. I had
Yeah.
I had a Houston Zoo Biak outcross, and I called it Face Spider. and it would go for your face, and it was a
Go
big
for the
girl.
face.
But the babies were great feeders,
Yep.
and so when Travis asked me what is your goal, it's a very it's a moving target, but one target I want to hit is feeding neonates. I mean, I carried those 6 babies from Dallas, set them up in their cages, and all 6 fed in 1 hour. I let them sit for
Really.
1 hour, and I tease feed them with chick down, and all 6 took. And I just went, okay, BIAC. That's what it's about, you know. That's what
Yeah.
it's about, you know. So feeding babies, and you know, we've all had males that don't seem to breed until year 6, and so having one good male with a good phenotype and most importantly genotype
Hmm.
is huge. So getting some proven animals that that you can rely on is huge, and that's my goal.
No,
So
I agree with that. Those
Um,
babies, though, we would like to see some of those babies because uh, when did you get them?
I
And
got
how many
them.
meals had they had in them and all that?
He had them for 2 weeks and did not offer, and I said fine. And my family, my sister and friends live up there, so I picked them up about 3 weeks ago, and they've had
Okay.
5 feedings, and one of them, Travis, we talked about cigar back.
yeah,
Um,
let's talk about cigar backs.
Yeah.
and uh, I haven't had neonates in my care for a while, and um, I had one, well, all 6 are maroon, neonate that went underneath a wet newspaper, and it rasped its head a little bit. So I immediately put one sheet of paper towel down, and it's out of the 6 babies I have, that's the lousiest feeder, and I don't know if it's because of the slight abrasion. And I've put a magnifying glass on it. It's fine. I put some Neosporin on it. It's fine. But it is a lousy feeder. And today, I fed all of them, and I said, well, let's feed this one, and it's cigar backed on me. And I am in cigar back is here's the dorsal for people that don't know, and it literally goes like this. It's kind of like you jammed them in a bucket and it sat
Yeah.
there for an hour. Now I immediately shut the cage and came back an hour and took a peek, and it went back. I've had cigar backs in the past, and it's directly related to stress as neonates only. And I don't think
Mm.
it's a defensive mechanism. I don't think it's anything but a abnormality that may be only a captive born phenomenon. I'm not sure, and I wanted to ask you guys. Uh, Cigar back is not desirable. There's no benefit to it, but I've never lost a neonate. It's always, it's like its back is broken, and then I've had them to breeding adults, and they're fine.
Really.
So, I have you. What do you guys know about it?
As far as I go, as far as I know, I've only seen cigar backing in like 2 pictures.
Hmm.
The first time I saw it, I was just like, I don't know what I'm looking at. The second time I was like, I guess I can see it. But I haven't had it with any of my babies. I've had different issues. I might have had it with one baby that probably died from my first clutch. But you know, I had a really sickly baby that was just sickly all the way around, and it moved weird, but it didn't have any kinks.
Mm.
So I don't know. I really couldn't tell you much about it. I really don't know much about it. Maybe Kino does.
Oh no, from my experience, from my one clutch, I don't have any with the cigar backs, but reading, I did see cigar backs and I heard about it a lot in direct sib to sib parent,
Okay.
which
Okay.
perplexes me is about your parent because it's completely unrelated, and that begs in the question like maybe it is something with the stress because I know that I've seen a few of my neos, you know, they especially like the high strung ones when you open the tub they'll like look back at you like that,
Right.
look back up and like you know with the tongue flickering all crazy and but I
Well,
haven't but I haven't seen the complete V like
I,
you said in my stuff.
it's a horrible observation
I've seen
because
it. I've seen pictures of it though, for sure though. But it's always a sib to sib parent when I've seen it,
yeah, well,
and
uh,
I kind of like attributed to that. You know, maybe it was an inbreeding issue.
I don't green tree pythons. I kind of believe through my tenure with the hobby are one of the most unknown and difficult species to breed. And it's almost like from the evolutionary chain, um, they haven't lined everything out. For instance, there in the Boreal Symposium, a guy was watching a yellow neonate, never touching it, just photographing it and coming to visit it. He showed up one day and it was dead under the bush. I don't I don't know what to think. Maybe some of this stuff we're witnessing in captivity is because of some genetic evolutionary uh, uh, challenge that they've had. Uh, I've always thought of boreal snakes are kind of the last group. You know, lizards went down to the ground, lost their legs, and then they came out and then populated the continents. And I'm hypothesizing that going up into the trees and evolving a green color was maybe more recent than other species. I really don't know, but when I hear about them dying so out in the wild, cigar backs, babies not feeding, uh, the difficulty in just keeping these critters, um,
Hmm.
um, they're special in a challenging way, I would say.
I got a
I
theory
agree.
from watching. I got a theory from watching babies, and it just might be misguided, but it seems like to be the same thing with sea turtles, like in a lot of other reptile species, where they have so many babies, um, just just to have some of them survive. Like I don't think that every baby from your clutch is going to come out genetically sufficient, and I think that they show that as you take care of them, and get to feeding them and watching them get established. Some babies are going to take off. Some babies need a little bit of help. Some babies need a lot of help. Um, Now, they can get to where, they'll be perfectly fine, but that's with a lot of human intervention and a lot of time. But if you watch them as they come out of as they come out in that first month and you treat them all the same, there's definitely differences in certain babies
Hmm.
to others. Some look plump, some look hella withered, some
Hmm.
look normal. And you'll see a wide range of the ones that look normal looking, and then you'll see a few that's just like this one's a killer, and then you'll see some that's just like I don't know if that's gonna make it. And I got one that is actually doing really well and better than some of the other ones that I thought were more on the normal end of the spectrum. That's eating perfectly fine. So it, it's no way for us to really tell. But I just literally think that a lot of these animals in this clutch, they're just not really meant to like survive. That's just my opinion about it.
And
And is that
I
go ahead?
also think that uh, artificial incubation plays a part too. I think the old saying is "Mama knows best," and what I would like to do is talk to somebody in particular. I won't mention him, but he's done a few maternal clutches, and I would like to see over the long term how health wise his maternal babies stack up against his artificial incubated ones? Because I
I,
think that has something to do with it too.
I think you're more right than wrong, Kino. I think, we've got this, dry vermiculite, moist vermiculite, egg crates, fan, 86.5, and then
So
I've had what, probably three maternal incubation clutches, and it's a mound of glued mess where no circulation is the beehive is so tight
correct.
that
Yep.
you go, where's the air circulation? Where's the gas exchange?
People
And
agree
and
with
then
me. Yay.
and one rots, and it doesn't contaminate any of the others. And but on the point of the hardiness and the thrivability of maternal
Hmm.
versus incubation, I don't know. I kind of think genetic compatibility, um, is again, when you ask, what's your goal, genetic compatibility with a pairing to produce thriving offspring
See,
is
now
is
you on a now
huge.
you thinking
Is
real deep.
huge.
Now you taking it to
Yeah.
church.
Is huge.
Now
Now
you
we got to
taking it
talk
to
about.
church.
Now we got to talk about
Yeah.
we got to talk about fertility at conception at
Yeah,
this
because you
point in
taking
time.
them to church now, Ken.
This is getting deep, Ken. This is
Well,
conversations on Peepaw's
See,
lap
so
right
now,
now.
see now now you putting the extra thought into your parents, and this I think I'm gonna say it. I think this where being a keeper plays a part, being a keeper before you're a breeder, because you get to see if you, especially when you raise animals up from babies, you get to see they ticks, stuff they like, they don't like, how they move at day, during the night, and that stuff makes up that genetic, you know. And then you pair them with an animal that you probably raised up, and then maybe this animal was a bushmaster, or it might have been another captive bred animal. But then you see, all right, so genetically, I know what I'm gonna get. Not phenotypically. Again, we ain't speaking about blue and trying to make a bunch of crazy animals. But this go back to the old school thing of just making hardy animals.
and I'm still there. We all acknowledged a few minutes ago that BAC outcrosses seem to result in more thrivability of babies. They're mean, they stay on their perch, they strike out. Therefore, there's nothing worse than having a litter, and you open the cage up and they fly out, and they fly. You can't even
Yeah.
tease feed them. And at one point I tried live geckos, and I had success with little frogs. The movement of little frogs bouncing around a little plastic container with a perch with a little green tree seemed to trigger something I could not mimic with tease feeding, and I had success with that. But that was a long time ago. Chick down still seems to be, why chick down? I mean, they're too small to eat baby birds. I don't even
Yeah.
understand that.
I don't understand it
None of
either
us do.
because the minute I used it, and it was just like, man, like I said, I told Kravis, it was like crack. He came off the perch, he smelled it, and it was gone. It was
That's the
like
worst.
20 seconds, and I
That's
was
the
just like,
worst.
what? What is
That,
this?
yeah, that's sad. I feel for you.
This is after unscented. My unscented, he was just like, phew, the
Yeah.
same snake, maybe 3 days before, took off.
And how did that animal do ultimately?
Well, I mean, I'm still in the process of. So that's a fresh clutch, Ken. I'm still in the process of establishing them animals. They're nowhere near established. They've only had a couple meals in them, but again, like his first encounter, he took off running,
Okay. Well, you
and
must be experienced if you got it to feed, because if it keeps doing that, you
well,
never can.
I've had babies. Almost all my animals I raised up from babies, and then I've had a lot of imports that was fresh babies too.
Yeah.
So I dealt with babies before. This is just my first time, dealing with my own. But I've had
It's-
babies that came here, sat down, and teased on me, and I've had to do the whole teasing for like reestablish them. So
we try to like
I got
I feed mine with a headlamp on, so I just gotta figure out like, do they want light on them? Do they want light
I
off
got
of
the
them?
headlamp. I got the headlamp too. Hold on, let me see. I'm gonna show you my headlamp. Hey, where's my headlamp at, man? Let me show you my
Yeah,
headlamp.
we some snake nerds for real. We some
And-
damn snake nerds.
Straight up, I be looking like a coal miner
then I'm
with
in the
this
right.
headlamp on. It's strapped to my
What are you
head.
doing? Looking for gray bands on a cut? What the heck are you doing?
My wife comes out in the garage in like the middle of the night. She's like, "What the hell are you out here
He
doing?"
got
I'm
a
just like,
flashlight on
"Don't
his
worry,
head.
don't worry about it. Just get out of it."
Well, I've
He
had
got a
good luck with
flashlight on his
runners.
forehead.
If you do try during the day
I've
because
tried.
okay, because they'll stay on their perch at night. We've all spent 2 in the morning really getting
Yeah.
frustrated. And I've got a dimmer on this room, and that helps. I don't have the babies here, but for feeding all the nocturnals, it's nice to not blind them.
Yeah.
But try doing during the day seems to be it works for some litters.
Yeah, the last feeding I had, most of them took during the day. It was around noon.
Good.
Noonish.
Well, whatever works, and whatever works for you.
Yeah.
I've got
I'm trying everything though.
Yeah.
I've got some pretty rare snakes called the red and black snakes from the Congo, and Matt Most said he doesn't send out care sheets, and I thought about it, and I think he's more right than wrong because everyone's environment is a little different.
Right.
And where they live, and the humidity, and their husbandry, and their care. So there's guidelines. Don't exceed this, but to say they'll thrive if you do this, and this. It's everyone's a little different. You have to find out what works good and your schedule. You guys are working a lot, and families and such,
Yeah,
So those snakes you talking about, can you expand on them? What kind of snakes
yeah.
are those?
Well,
Can we get to your Dominican mountain boas too?
I tell you,
Yeah, and we want to talk about the emerald breed and all that too.
let me.
But those snakes you just mentioned, those red snakes, what are those?
We have a half an
The
hour,
Congo snakes?
and let's stay in this room for a little bit here, and I'm going to turn the phone
Look at
around.
Ken, he got the beautiful silver. You see the silver, baby? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What hair?
Bling
What are you
bling.
talking about?
The bling bling. That's what I'm talking about. That's that
Ken,
wisdom.
you got really nice hair. You look like a dad on a soap opera.
Hey, I have hair. That's what's important.
Well, we be getting some well groomed guests.
So here's Confetti's sib right here. All right.
Okay.
And here it's a pretty green snake. I don't know. Maybe I could turn down the light. I don't know.
Does her brother?
Yeah, that's her brother, and it's a green snake,
Right.
which is kind of cool. Here
Of
is
course, so you need anybody's help.
I don't starve my snakes. I'm actually trying to feed them less. Here is a snake. I've got 2 females. This is a BJ arboreal blue line with Andrew Amon, which is a pretty nice animal. It's a big girl, and I'm going to work on her to get some babies. Here is a big emerald, northern emerald. And on that, here are some babies. I had some babies from her. I had 12 babies from her. They're gorgeous things.
They are.
Uh-oh.
They want to get out.
Good, nice.
Yeah, those are nice. A whole bunch of rosy boas. Here's a Jaeger kryptonite high yellow individual, which has some albino genes, and
Okay.
so
So you got this from Matt Morris?
I got this from Matt Morris, correct?
Yeah.
And it's some of that yellow is really nice and bright. Let's stick with green trees. This is a
Shout out to Matt Morris too, man. Matt Morris is a wonderful dude.
oh he's going to spend the
Yeah.
week. He's going to spend the weekend, and we're going to a snake show in McQueenie this weekend. Here is
Are you guys going to the one in McQueenie this weekend?
yeah.
I'll probably be there.
Hey, we'll definitely come by and say hi because we'll have a table there.
Okay.
And here's Onder Gutterman's female, which it's a nice blue line too, with some yellow diamonds. That's nice.
So what you feeding, Ken? What you feeding, Ken? And how you prepping your females for breeding season?
Well, I think one of my problems is I feed too much, buddy. I think I feed a little too much. I'm kind of old school, so I feed too much. So I'm going to feed cycling and thermocycling more and more. But remember, I haven't been very successful on breeding. That's why I need to loan out more to Sony. This is a gravid Dominican red mountain boa. These pictures don't. That's a pretty big snake. You really can't tell, but that's a pretty big snake. So let me put this back on top.
Where's the Congo snake? The red Congo snake.
All right, we'll have to go into another room.
Let's see those. I've never seen one of those before.
You got
They
three
got two
snake
rooms.
rooms.
That's nice.
No, I just have
three there.
no two. Two.
Big rooms though.
These are really neat snakes, and here's a label of it right here. It's non-venomous, non-rear fanged, and I believe I've got one gravid. But look at this thing.
Oh man,
I never seen nothing like that before.
The babies have white heads, and then they lose the white on their head, and
I've
like
never seen them like that before either.
they're really neat, and
Petty.
So when I get excited about Okatee corn snakes. I mean, green trees are fun, but they're nice. So I've got this female, and she's blue, and I think she's gravid. So we'll see. But she's blue, but I think she's gravid.
Oh, she's something.
How many of these do you have?
I've got 1.2.
Okay, so one male, two females. That's good.
And,
we got a question. Somebody wanted to know: have you established a Dominican red mountain boa yet?
No, this is my first litter for the Dominican red mountain boas, and I'm already. I found where to buy a Knowles.
Oh yeah,
because the babies
already.
The babies feed. All right, let's look at some green tree pythons. Here's the label, which is pretty much this is the babies from Sony in my breeding loan. They're probably going to be active, but they're gorgeous. They're just gorgeous.
Those are beautiful.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah. Those are nice.
Yeah, these are going to be real fun to watch. They have some kind of orange and yellow diamonds, which is not really characteristic of Biak. So I think they're going to mimic their father, hopefully. This one has a little bit of yellow on it. Look at those red eyes on that.
He active too.
I
He want to
love
bite.
I love Beox with red eyes. I love it, especially when they're babies. It just looks crazy.
Now this is the one that's cigar backed. So let's just take a peek at it. And it's okay. It's okay.
But he alert too.
It's actually one of the better looking neonates too, which kind of ticks me off. That's pretty.
That's how it happens.
It does.
Your favorite looking Neo is the hardest Neo to deal with.
And even with confetti, that was true with confetti. It was the toughest feeding baby.
Oh, Randy
So
P
confetti,
said he has
confetti look like
Dominican.
that from a. Go ahead.
Oh, Randy says he has Dominican red mountain babies that are established on rodents if you're interested. Oh, he was talking to Salad. My bad.
So confetti look like that when, from a Neo.
Confetti was almost. You got to look at a picture. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, you got a baby picture from confetti.
No, I not with me. You know.
Okay.
But that's just. Oh well, let me show you. Let me show you this special thing that's kind of freaked me out a little bit. 2 years in a row, I've had a pair of quadruple het corn snakes, blood reds, and they've produced this. And this is a paradox.
Mm. I don't think I've seen corn snakes look like that before.
I've talked to some people and they said don't let anybody say paradoxes. This may not work. So I'm outbreeding one of the
Everybody I talk to say that paradox don't work.
everything
Literally.
except Kenyan sand boas. Kenyan sand boas do have a proven genetic paradox. So that's about all the fun stuff, you know. I mean, I've got to, you know, I mean, I like colors, and so here's a colorful snake, but you probably, you know, it's an Applegate. This guy was selling them for $65 as non-feeders, and I got them feeding when I got them immediately home. So it was just their turn, but I like those too. So.
What's your long-term plans with the Anders animal?
With that's going to probably go with that Jaeger kryptonite because Bill Stiegel's got Jaeger kryptonites that are man, they're stellar animals. You know, they're really stellars. Right. So, I mean, I loaned out a blue line to Ike Leitner, who does a lot of Brazilian rainbow boas. You know, I mean, I've got these Brazilians. Let me show you real quick. That are really nice.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And I got ring pythons. See, that's where my challenge is not having a room dedicated to chondros. I mean, you know, I mean, it just gets out of control, you know.
Yeah, you got a little bit of everything. What are these eggs?
Ultra Melkorns, Mexican Blacks, Baja Mountain Kings, Noblicais, and Snowcorns. Hopefully I'll get another paradox from them. So we'll see.
Yeah, but you're really enjoying how you're keeping. Like you've got time. It doesn't, to me, in my honest opinion, it doesn't matter that you're not focused on one thing, especially if it's chondros, but you're just enjoying it. That's what makes people take the best care of their animals.
I will when an Okatee corn snake sheds, I got some real nice with fluorescent orange in between the blotches. I get as excited of seeing that snake. It's almost like I've made full circle with the colubrids. I like colubrids, and
Okay.
so be it. I'm not a ball python guy, but I sure like colubrids.
Oh, that's good. That's all I want to say. That's good. But
Hey,
the
you gotta.
colubris. So what have you found in the colubris? What did you find in them that really ignited that passion for them?
Colors and hardiness and reliability. We talked earlier about getting compatible green tree pythons to produce hardy neonates. I mean,
Hmm.
colubrids seem like you don't have that hardiness challenge. Granted, there's certain individuals that run, that are mean, that hide their head, but they all feed and they all thrive.
So how are you establishing them? Are you doing live? Are you scenting them?
I have about 6 or 7 mouse cages, and and I use that to supplement um, uh, feeding for the tough babies, um, and but I can spend $2,000 on mice a year, or more, at this stage of my life, I mean, I kind of am doing what I want. I'm 63 years old, and I probably won't be doing this forever, but right now it's I'm excited about the Dominicans. I got some
Yeah.
Brazilians coming in. Algamas, Baja Mountain Kings will be my first run with those,
Hmm.
and to each their own. I'm not chasing the buck. That's the difference. I'm
Amen.
financial.
Hey man, don't chase the
Amen.
buck. Chase the
Yeah,
That's something
glory.
that's
Chase
something
the
that we
glory.
personally preach.
and I think I charge a little less too because of it.
Oh yeah, you
Uh,
charge. I charge less too. I get it.
when I sold these Northern Emeralds, uh, well, I never had to sell them. Let's just say that. I would post it on the Emerald Facebook post, and I would have
This
people,
is so easy.
I'd have people say, "Just put me in line for one," and I go, "There is no line. I don't know who you are, and you're not going in the line." But people who called and communicated
Yeah.
and talked, if I liked them, I would make an effort to try and sell them one.
And I didn't understand that at first, but I understand that now.
Yeah.
Because there are some people that you will send your snakes to and they will be dead in 2 months.
Yeah,
And you be like,
Yes.
damn, I would have you could have kept your money and I kept my snake.
yeah,
I'd
and
rather
and
take less money, see somebody raise it up for, 7, 8 years and see what they do with it.
yeah, and sending baby green tree pythons to someone, even if they paid exactly what you're asking for, can really backfire on you. I mean, their conditions. Every time I see somebody hold a green tree python or an emerald, I kind of go, "What are you doing? You should have a removable perch and never
Yeah,
yank them off a branch." I mean, that just
yeah,
stresses them out. Uh,
yep,
Especially with the
yep,
adults, you got to let them crawl off. Just put the perch up against something, or just put your hand out. They'll
yeah.
crawl off.
especially when you cleaning, and then when they've gotten comfortable with you, you'll turn around and they be on your back somewhere, on your arm, on your neck,
Yeah.
or your head crawling around, and then
It's
then
like
you
we
can
know this
interact with them
dude.
then. But don't
Yeah,
go yank them up. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, you look familiar.
I,
You
I've
cleaning up my
always
shit.
I've always considered these as specimens and not
Hmm.
pets. These, it's a privilege to have them in my house, and when the analogy I use for people who don't understand it, I say it's just like a painting. That painting you spent good money on, I hate, and I don't want it in my house. And it does nothing for you. It really, it doesn't love you. It doesn't. So you better
It
like it
don't do nothing. I'll just
for
sit
what
there
it
and
is.
it's a weird person standing there like this. That's it.
So
Well,
what do you guys keep? What do you have anything other than green trees?
for right now, no. I don't have anything beyond green trees right now, mostly because I had a plan of the animals that I got. Um, like by the end of 2021, I had a plan, and I was just like, yeah, I've got it down pat as to what I want to attempt to do first. And as long as I get close to my goals, I'm good. And then after that, I was thinking about maybe doing something else. I really wanted to get into dart frogs, but you never know. I'm still having. I'm limited on time because of work, school, and kids.
Yeah.
So I can only dedicate so much time to things, and I wouldn't want to take on something that I didn't have time to dedicate time to because I love these animals way more than I love shipping them out. Um,
Yeah.
so for me, it's just like I got some goals I want to hit as far as things that I feel like I can produce for myself.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think
that's it.
that's wise. It really is wise. I've gone a little snake crazy right now, but
Yeah.
I bought an RV, and I bought a new car, and so I love the outdoors. And this is a good hobby if you do a little bit of traveling. I think they thrive off being left alone. I really believe that. The story I
Yeah.
have, I was building a home in Bernie, and Chris Ryman, he used to have the Gila Ranch, and and I had a timer on this room that he let me use, and I would visit only once a week because it was a drive to get there, and I I would show up twice a week, and I found out that the animals were feeding so much better for some reason. And then after a month, I realized I turned off the timer of the lights for photo period, and they were in pitch blackness for a month with just the light during the day at the base of the door. And it was a pretty small base of the door, so it was just a little bit
Okay.
of light. My green trees, things that would never eat on a regular basis, were just thriving. And
These were adults.
these were all adults, and I
Okay.
had about maybe 50 adults at that time. And I told this story to Dave and Tracy Barker, or Tracy actually, and she said, "Wow, that's interesting, Ken. But we've come to realize that a snake can photo period through a pinhole. They don't need this bright light and stuff like that." And when she said that, I said, "Yeah, well, that's what these did. They photo period, and they felt secure, and
Mm.
and they thrived. So that's an interesting story. I thought.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
with that
why
being
it's
said,
no,
go
go ahead,
ahead.
Kino. No, go ahead.
Do you with that being said, since you learned that, how are you maintaining your adults right now? Do they all got individual lights?
No, no. That's why I brought that flashlight out. I'm looking at these snakes with their heads down right now, but I guess you still could see them without the flashlight. I always keep the blinds drawn on nice days. I believe that good air circulation or stagnant air, especially during moist conditions, can backfire on you. So I don't give them any individual light, no UV. And during nice days, I'll open the one window up and let air flow in and out. But
I do the same thing. I got
you
the
know,
balcony open right now.
that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. Air quality in these plastic boxes with glass fronts. You know, I don't know if that's optimal air quality.
Yeah, that's probably true.
What was you about to, Josh, you about to say something?
Yeah. So what I was gonna say is, I think that because I've had several conversations with people using strange bulbs and heat bulbs and things with green tree pipe houses. I'm just like, if you're the only lights I would suggest, and this is just over the years that I've seen it, are the shade dwellers, and it's only because they put off so little light um, that
Hmm.
and you don't need the big lights. And I noticed that early on, like having the big ones is not useful. You need the small little 12-inch one if you're putting in a 3x2x2. They just work so much better, and the animals, they seem to get a lot more enjoyment out of that light, but they don't need a ton of light. They it doesn't need to be bright. Those big
Trevor, do you
weird
have any
tropical bulbs.
scientific proof of this?
No, I don't, but I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's it's uh it's kind of like, are
Do you
we
have any
are we
biometric scientific proof of this, Travis?
No, no,
it's kind of like, are we keeping them?
absolutely
You
not.
know what I'm talking about? You
I
know
know.
what I'm talking
Yeah, I know. I
about?
know. I know.
Are we keeping them for in a cage, like some biosystem, um, because we think they look better in there, or are we
Patrick, that's
just,
true.
I mean,
Yeah.
or are we just finding a way um, to accommodate them? I'm looking at a cage of Vision 222 that I've got newspaper over. Well, I have newspaper over that because there's a really big northern emerald that's really mean, and I want to reduce the stress as much as possible. And so I just keep newspaper over that cage, and and when I want
She's
to,
one of those animals. What? It hits shot. It attacks at shadows.
she'll take your head off. I mean, she really will. Uh, but
She
I just,
hit the glass and all that and everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no.
And that's more stressful for her than it is me. I mean, I don't need to see her as much as I'd like to,
Hmm.
but so what do
Patrick
you
animal. My animal from Patrick does that to me.
really? Well, get your
She's
money
an
back.
idiot.
Get your money back.
No, I'm
He
never.
said, tell
No,
Patrick to
he
give you his
told
money
me.
back.
No, he told me that she was defective and sent her back. I'll never send her back. But she is very high strung during feeding time. During the
Yeah.
day, she's very peaceful. She's the sweetest animal. But as soon as the night goes off, the light goes off. It's like the ass, and then feeding night. I got a video of her on my page where she's the only animal I turn the light on, the big light on the feed because I might get hit. Because she like to come around the corners and do some. She just a she just a little sneaky. motherfucker. So she
Yeah.
said she'll hit the glass or she'll be reaching for the. She'll go right past the rat and strike and wrap the puppy pad, or you hear doof, doof. And I've been helping to cover her up too. But it's crazy because during the day she's so sweet. My son
Well,
can go in there and pet her, rub her
have
all on
you
the head
guys
and
been
stuff.
tagged by a green tree before? A big one?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got tagged by my female sarong that laid my last clutch. She
yeah,
got my ass good. And this was like 5 minutes before Pat said leave her alone.
yeah. I got
Uh,
tagged by the female that laid my clutch last year. She
and
I
was
was
it
bit
a?
like,
and
yeah,
she
you're right,
she
Pat.
chewed.
She
She
chewed.
chewed.
Okay,
She bit
okay.
and chewed.
And that's
Yeah.
the worst. And how much did you bleed?
Nah, Patrick, you ain't getting that back. When she bit me, that was probably the worst bite I had because she bit
Yeah,
right on the thumb, like right back, right behind the cuticle, and she was chewing. It's like
yeah.
she bit, and I had a glove on. She bit down.
Oh,
That's when I was getting the eggs.
I remember when he
oh,
So
called me that morning. I was like, damn, that
she
sounds
bit down and
terrible.
chewed through the damn glove, the rubber glove, and I was like, damn.
yeah. When they jaw walk on your
Yeah.
arm, I hemorrhaged.
I was
I
just
hemorrhaged.
expecting it just to this, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
she did
No,
that, and then my
Yeah.
thumb kind of went numb, and it was just leaking.
I was cleaning blood off the ceiling fan a year afterward, and I hemorrhaged this
Oh
this
shit!
much, and she drugged me in the cage more than I ever thought she could. It was a big green tree, female. It was a feeding response. It was all my fault, but I'm scared of the emeralds and stuff now. I always say, yeah, if someone comes in and want to steal my snakes after hours, you go right ahead. You go right ahead.
Especially with
You-
emeralds. The
Yeah,
emeralds be hot, boy. They be gung ho.
it's also kind of amazing like how strong some of these chondros really are, and you don't really notice it until you're just like, even if I want to pull you off this perch, you're not going for it.
you're not going for it.
You're not
Right.
going for it.
Well, you
So I
notice
just
it
gotta
when
leave it alone.
you got one end, and then like the female's body is like 2/3 wrapped around this end, and you like,
Yeah.
do I let her go and get bit, or
Right.
do I do this, or do I got?
Well,
Oh no!
you,
When
you,
you
you
looking at
know,
a head, you like that's a mean head. I don't know.
yeah, I get Matt Morris over when I have to do something significant, and he's gutsier than I am. Uh, I got these ring pythons over here that are the devil's right arm, and
Mm.
he wanted to hold one, and I said, "Why do you want to hold it? I know it's going to happen." And he got bit, but he said, "Oh, that's okay." And I said, "What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Whatever."
Man, boy, is still living on the wild side.
Yeah,
Hey, he is, but it's also good to hear that, Ken, you're back in the game and you're excited and you're back into your dog days as well. It's not as
Yeah,
much, growling and roaming, but you're still back in it, and we appreciate like that that you would have this conversation with us. Pat
we
said,
do.
I pulled a female GTP eggs 30 plus times, never been bitten. I don't know, Pat. Maybe it's
But
because you special. Maybe it's because you special,
that's
Pat.
because you do yoga, man. You show your muscles and stuff, and you do
yeah, he's
that
lifted
frequency.
weights and stuff. He's
Yeah, he
all
do that. He
pumped
got a little
up.
routine, a dancing routine. He do.
Hey, Pat, I
No,
hope them snakes don't think you sexy and be like, I'll let you take my eggs, Patrick.
Hey, so Ken, do you think this joint project with Sony? Do you think this gonna reignite your own personal breeding? You
yeah,
got the itch again?
I got the edge, and I
You
and
got
I
it.
as much as I said outbreed with BX, breeding loans are not with. I've seen his husbandry, and again, you could drink out of the water bowls, and
Hmm.
and breeding loans are not a bad thing when you have so many irons in the fire. Um, I have 3 breeding loans with other species and with close friends that uh, uh, I respect highly. And
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to get these girls back online and
Good
get
job,
back in the
Trey.
game. But
Yeah,
but Travis,
my current clutch was a breeding loan, and I will say this, uh, for the breeder and the breeding loan, it definitely feels good to be able to return the animal that was sent to you. You know that I wanted to touch on that earlier when you said you sent that female out. I think that was real expensive, and she didn't make it.
right?
And I that was one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that the male that came here, shout out Mikey Mars. He when he left here, he was gonna leave. I want him alive, and I want him to be at a weight that he came here or either more. And I was able to return him both within like a year to the day that he came here.
Good, good, good
That's
for
something
you.
I take pride in, and I think especially when Nido hit and you had the viral infection hit, there was a lot of breeding loans that went south. Some expensive animals dying, or some expensive animals just disappearing. Um, Speaking of, have you encountered Nido, or have you had any experience with it?
I think I had it. I never tested for it, and I'll never bring a adult snake into my colony. I think I had it in 2008 or 9, and that was another hit within the green tree python hobby for me that took the wind out of me. I lost a number of animals due to secondary bacterial infections, should not have occurred. And I kind of took a step back and diversified and my colony. I haven't tested. I did some PCR analysis with work for E. coli, and my overall thoughts are you have to repeatedly do it, and the library needs to be updated, and you know, herpafauna viruses are about, you know, we can't even figure out COVID, you know, I mean, I think it's a real hit and miss. So my rule was I was going to take a step back. And again, that was in 2009. And I did so. And to this day, I see people selling adult snakes, and I'm going, I don't care what you're selling it for. I don't want it, you know. I don't
Yeah,
want it, you
it's
know.
That is
it's
true. That is
it's
something that
really
Travis and I have been talking about offline.
it's really scary to see some of these adult snakes that are being sold, and it's just like, ugh. Like, I guess for me personally, I'm really thorough about nido testing. So I actually like knowing that I got a
Yeah,
real
the same.
confirmation about
Same
nido
here.
testing, because when people tell me that they haven't had it and they have more snakes than me, I'm just like, well, I've had it twice, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty thorough about testing. It is
And
it
I
to
and I had
hear
it once.
to hear people say it, it's just like, I don't know, I don't believe you. Like, I don't believe you're actually testing. And that's why quarantine is really, really important. And people don't necessarily believe in it, but
At all.
just save your collection.
Well, it's the only tool in the toolbox besides doing what I did, which is bow down and out of it. I,
Yeah.
I, 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 I had RIs and respiratory infections that shouldn't have occurred, and so what I did is I euthanized those animals, and I took the cages and I put them in the garage for years, and after Cloroxing them, and am I positive I had it? No. Do I think I had it? I think there's a higher probability than not that I had it. Where was the inoculating animal? I'm not sure, but we talked about what to do.
Hmm.
What's your goals and stuff like that. Hey, that Nido scare is the umbrella of reality, and that's why these neonates are going to be. People have said, "Hey, you want to sell them? You want to sell them?" I'm going, no, I'm gonna enjoy them. I'm gonna
That's
enjoy them.
tougher than me.
I'm gonna enjoy them, their change in the next year and a half, and have fun with them.
Yeah.
And we do love. I know that me and Keno, we thoroughly enjoy talking about things that do affect our collections. Because really, for the most part, I mean, me and Keno, we work closely together. So I care about Keno's animals as much as he cares about mine. So we often talk about these things. Um,
Yeah.
and it's always odd to me that people will knowingly give these animals away. And we've been seeing that over the past few years, whereas people say, "Hey, I'm getting out of the chondros because I want to go be
Yeah.
a yacht salesman or some shit, like whatever it is." And then people get these animals and they get them at a good price, and then the
Yeah.
animals turn out to have nido, and it's just like, I can't knowingly give an animal to to somebody that I potentially think has Nido and definitely not knowingly has Nido, because I would think that they
Hmm.
love their animals just as much as mine. But
Yeah.
a lot of people, it's not a concern to them, and that's
Well,
scary.
it's back to the money thing. Are you in for it to make money, I think, or do you enjoy the animals and make them a priority? And again, I'm fortunate, I think, where yes, I almost always charge for my animals, but and money's great, but I hate selling a corn snake. I may want that.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. You guys, the fact that you have the Chondro bar and you're communicating information, you guys are more on target with the industry and promoting sound husbandry and communication. I'm really happy that you guys reached out and invited me, and I appreciate that.
Hey, we appreciate you
Nah.
for coming.
Yeah, Kendall, it's been a pleasure. Especially me, man. It's always good to hear them old stories about people who was around in the MVF days that can sit back and you can tell us how it was and and that's just be music to my ears, man. But it's also good to hear the OGs acknowledge, man. You know what, there was some weird things going on in my collection and so and so. But and it's good to see you back in it, Ken, because man,
Yeah,
you can't keep a good dude down.
I
You know?
appreciate it. At 63, though, the clock's ticking. I better get going.
Man, I don't want to hear that clock ticking stuff. You gonna be around till you about 100.
All right, all right.
You gonna be pooping on yourself with Neo.
I'll trade chondros for depends.
He's like, I got them cases coming in.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure, Ken. I appreciate you for the help that you've given me, and I know there's other people that appreciate you as well. I know that there's people that really enjoy being here tonight, especially Pat, because Pat loves crashing it whenever there's other Texas people here, and I love seeing Pat doing it. Thank you for everybody that asked questions. I think I got to everybody's
Get
questions.
Confetti's brother working, Ken. Get
Yes,
him
sir.
working.
Yes, sir. I
Get
will.
him
I
working
will.
because you got to make another confetti. I know you can do it.
I will. I
And
will.
hopefully I'll see you guys.
Get a nice bi. Make it happen.
Hopefully, I'll see you guys in McQueenie this weekend. I thought it was next weekend, but hopefully, I'll see you guys in McQueenie because I got to go get feeders anyway. So hopefully, I get to see you guys.
I hope to see you too, Travis. Keno, it was nice meeting you, buddy.
You too. Travis gonna have probably lime green on when you see him. He's gonna be the brother with the lime green suit.
Got it.
Listen, don't listen to Keno. Keno thinks I'm an undercover pimp and I wear suits that are really loud. He thinks I wear fuchsia suits.
He wear loud colors.
But thank you
No,
again for
kid,
coming
it's
through,
been a
kid.
pleasure, kid. Thank
Hey,
you for
thanks,
We
buddy.
you guys.
appreciate you.
Good
You
luck.
take care.
Bye.
Good night,
You
y'all.
too. All right, good luck. Until next week.